All right, Jeff, week 15 is over, and it was a good one. 12-4 straight up. Unfortunately, 1-2-1 on the premium picks, 132 and 92 on the year. How was your week, Jeff? How'd it treat you?
I well, we went pretty similar on straight up. I was 12-4 as well. Ended up 2-2 premium, 1-0 free pick. So 137.83 for the year straight up.
Yeah, nice. You still got me by a couple. Hey, rookies, you can get us in all of our picks and analysis on rookiesbeatbookies.com, where you can also get us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. For a low price of $75, you get all of our picks, all of our analysis all year long, both Jeff and I. So come check us out. So we're in playoff mode, and with some teams playing for their playoff life, and other teams, looking for the 2024 draft lottery. So we're kind of in that mode, and that's something that you're going to have to think about as you're going into these picks. So the NFL injuries continue to mount. Wilson does not look like he's going to be back in week 16. Looks like Chase, and that's Wilson for the Jets, obviously. Looks like Chase is day to day, but Reader and Ivy are out for the rest of the year for the Bengals. Martin went out on the Bills, and I'm really concerned about that for the boys. Marquise Brown did not return for the Cards last week. Mitchell looks to be out for the season for the Ravens. That was a terrible. I don't know if you saw that, but that made my ACL hurt, and I blew mine out playing high school football. So I really
heard
felt
about
for
it.
that kid.
Seemed bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was bad, and it wasn't even a hit too. It's crazy. Looks like Stanley's in concussion protocol for the Ravens, and Ward did not return for the Texans. So Jeff, thoughts on the injury situation going into week 16? Anything else jump out at you that I missed?
I mean, it's been terrible. I heard that Stroud is still looking unlikely to play this week for Houston. So
yeah, he didn't practice, but I think they were hopeful he could play.
Yeah, that's going to be something to watch. But other than that, it's piling up and it's affecting spreads for sure.
Yeah, I think, and I think it also is going to affect the lower tier games as well as we look forward to those games. So we kick off first with two Saturday games with some serious playoff implications. The Bengals won last week and are back in the hunt, traveling to Pittsburgh, favored by 2.5 with the over-under at 37. The Bengals lost two important players for the season, and Chase might not play. The Steelers always play tough at home, and a good position to knock the Bengals out of the playoff race. It's a tough one. It's a tough bet to place on the Steelers given their quarterback situation. Looks like they're going with Mason Rudolph if Pickett can't start. I like the under here, and Steelers with the points at home, but I kind of like the Bengals to pull it out. Jeff, where do you stand on this tough game? I'm sorry, I like the Steelers to win it.
Well, but then we've got a difference. I am going Cincinnati. There's some unusual chatter about this being Mike Tomlin's last year in Pittsburgh, because of some, more than anything, his dissatisfaction with the way things are going in the organization. And I think Cincinnati straight across is a better team, even though they both have quarterback issues. So I'm going Cincinnati in this one.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Steelers. I think they're going to tough it out here. I don't like the injuries on the Bengals side. And without Chase, T. Higgins can step it up for sure, but the Steelers are going to make them earn it. Our next Saturday game has the Bills coming off that huge win against the boys, traveling to Los Angeles. We both called that win, too, against the Cowboys to face off on the Chargers, who were owned by the Raiders, giving up 63 points and not producing any offense until the second half. What happened and how does that organization bounce back? Well, the Chargers are coming in additional rest, but they're coming in without a coach and their GM, Tom Telesco, as they were fired. Looks like Giff Smith, who's an defensive linebackers coach, is taking over as the head coach. Not a votes of confidence for Kellen Moore. The question here is are we going to see a intern coach bounce back? Feels like the Bills win this and cover. I think the question is, do they drop 40? Jeff, do the Bills cover here?
So I think this one is a very close point spread. I think they did a good job of estimating it. That's right where I had it. I think they do have the bounce back on defense for the Chargers. They were embarrassed. Staley was a defensive coach and now he's gone. So they're going to have a slightly different look. And I think Buffalo really put a lot out against Dallas. So I think they'll have kind of a letdown. So while I think they'll win, I like the Chargers to cover.
Okay. I'm going with the Bills and I'm staying away from this spread. I would think maybe over the total. I would lean toward the over, I guess is a better way to say it. So Sunday, well, I guess Christmas Eve, we kick off with the Falcons hosting the Colts. The Colts remain in the hunt for the AFC South crown and a playoff berth. Meanwhile, the Falcons' loss dropped them to third in their division, and they're looking at a 3-game skid. Looks like Heineke is back at quarterback as Ritter just could not push the ball downfield last week against the Panthers and really all season. Moss left the win last weekend, and I'm not sure if he's going to be able to go. And the Colts are looking to get Taylor back, but I don't think he practiced much. Pittman remains in concussion protocol. Lindstrom, McGarry are banged up for the Falcons. I think they're offensive linemen. Atlanta's favored here by -1, and the over-under is at 44. This feels like a letdown spot for the Colts coming in banged up. And give me the Falcons at home. Would lean toward the under. Jeff, tough one here, right?
It is a very tough one. I'm not putting a whole lot of emphasis on it, but I like Atlanta here. They've disappointed, and I think it's mostly coaching, but I agree with the Indy letdown part. So I think Atlanta takes this one.
Yeah, without Moss and Taylor, I don't know how, and Pittman potentially, I don't know how the Colts generate offense enough to pull it out.
Yep.
Hey, the Titans host the Seahawks and are home dogs by 2.5. The over-under 41.5. The Titans lost one in overtime last week. And the Hawks got it done at home against a struggling Eagles team. The Titans have won the last 2 games going back to 2017, but these teams don't play much. Looks like Levis is dealing with a sprained ankle, and it looks like Geno Smith will return in week 16 from a couple of weeks off. The Hawks remain in the hunt for a playoff berth and have to win. These two teams are statistically very similar, except in the win column and strength of schedule. Give me the Hawks and to keep it going here, Jeff. Any value?
I definitely like Seattle. I think the quarterback swing, I think Levis being questionable and Geno Smith coming back is going to be probably the biggest factor, but also Seattle still being in the hunt and coming off a big win. I think they kind of strive and push forward on this one. So I think they take this game, and it's really close on the point spread. Probably lean Seattle as well.
All right, next up, the Vikings host the Lions. They're home dogs at +3. The over-under's at 47. The Vikings kept it close with Mullins under center. And Jefferson is getting back in it to him from about 6 weeks on IR. The Lions put on a show at home last week, getting back on track from a bad loss the week prior to the Bears. Goff was error-free and 5 touchdowns. They reestablished a run with Gibbs and Montgomery. This is a game of strengths. The 5th best scoring offense. The Lions against the 7th best scoring defense in the Vikings. This is the first of 2 games with the second divisional game in week 18. I like the Lions. Jeff, who do you like in this divisional matchup?
Well, I like Detroit. I think their offensive line is getting healthier, and it was a surprising difference. I didn't think it would make as much of a difference, but when you took away a couple of their linemen and cut out the running game, Goff really struggled for a few weeks. But last week, with offensive linemen coming back and the running game striving, then he was back to his normal efficient self. So I think that's
that's why McVay drafted him, right? He's a play action guy.
Yep.
And so I think that's a great point as we go into the playoffs. If those Lions can keep their offensive linemen healthy and the run game healthy, I think they got a shot all the way to the NFC Championship game. But if one of those guys, kind of falls out like they did the last couple of weeks, I think you pinpointed it right there. It's an easy loss in the playoffs.
Yep.
Right. The Commanders travel to New York to face off against Jets, who were dominated by Dolphins last week. Looks like Simeon looks to start as Wilson remains in concussion protocol. Surprisingly, the Jets are favored by 3, and the over-unders at 37 and a hook. Howell was benched last week in the loss, the 5th in a row, and Bissett played well, except him to start the game this week. This is a meaningless game, and it feels like the Jets D can get it done at home against a bad offense. So give me the Jets to win straight up, but staying away from the spread and would lean to the over on this one just because it's like so low. And I think the Washington team can actually score on the Jets D. Jeff, who wins this one?
It is really close. I'm going to go Jets to win this game, but I don't think I would mess with the point spread because it is going to be, 50-50, game right at the end. I'd probably say I'm looking at about 40 points overall for these two teams, but it's just one I'm probably going to stay away from because they don't have any motivation and don't have a good read on how they're going to come out and respond.
Yeah, I think there's too many good playoff games to bet on too, to be wasting your money on games that don't count at this point in the season. So next up, the Panthers host the Packers, coming off their second win of the season with 70,000 fans in attendance at last week's game. I think they must have been tailgating out in the parking lot. I didn't see them in the stands.
Not in the
but
stadium.
Hey, that's what was said. The Packers couldn't get it done last week and are after pulling to 6-6 and have dropped 2 in a row, really to average to bad teams. So technically they remain in the hunt, and the Panthers don't have their first round pick, so winning for them remains the best option, unless one talks about the second round pick, which no one does. These are two very different football teams. The Panthers are 29th in offensive production at 14 a game and 29th in defensive scoring at giving up 24 a game. Feels like a get-right game for the Pack for me, Jeff. Did the Panthers get 2 wins in a row?
No, I think they lucked into their second win, and that's about the most they can hope for this season. And Green Bay, I just think they're better. They have struggled the last couple of weeks, but I'm saying they win this game, and I probably have them covering.
Yeah, I mean, they still have an outside chance of the playoffs. It starts this week in Carolina, or the season's over for Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love. Another playoff game in December with the Texans hosting the Browns. This is going to be a good one, with the AFC South still up for grabs, as well as a playoff berth for maybe the Browns. Browns are coming off a 2-game win streak, bringing in Flacco. The Browns are favored by 2.5. The over-under set at 40. The Texans might get CJ back, but they're still missing Dell for the season, and Nico and Noah Brown are all banged up on the outside. So they're going to have to rely on Schultz in a running game, and that doesn't work well, in my opinion, against the Browns D. At this point, everyone on the Browns offensive line except Newsom has a questionable tag. Flacco obviously has one. He had one before he even came in the league as a retiree. Ford and Hunt also are carrying nicks, and that's what happens at this point in the season, right? People get nicked up. They're all going to go, okay? The bet here is, which team do you believe will come through to the struggle and the win? So give me the Browns straight up here, but staying away, as the Texans could also easily win this one. So I'm not laying any money, but if you force me to bet, I'm going with the Browns. Jeffs, can the Texans win the South?
I'm going to mirror your pick. I think Cleveland wins this, but it's the war of attrition. They both got backup quarterbacks and backup all sorts of things on offense. So I expect it more towards the under than I'm worried about either team winning, but I think I'd go Cleveland.
Okay. The other team in the three-way race, the AFC South, travel across the state to face off against the Bucks as they're playing at home in Tampa. The Bucks are favored at home by -1. The over/under is 42.5. This line surprised me, Jeff. With it is the most weird line to me since the Rams Seahawks in Week 1. The Jags have 6 losses, and 5 of those are to very, very good football teams: the 49ers, Chiefs, the Bengals, Cleveland, and Baltimore. The only suspect loss was the Texans in Week 3, and we see the Texans are 8-6, so they're still on the hunt. Maybe I get burned on this one. Meanwhile, the Bucks, their best win is between the Vikings and the Saints. Maybe I get burned on this, and Vegas knows something I don't. But take the Jags +1 for my free pick of the week. I'm going with Jacksonville 2 weeks in a row. I would seriously consider the over here as well, despite the number of questionables coming in on a short week. Feels like the Jags get it done and stay in the race for the South. Jeff, can Baker win this one at home?
No, and actually, this is the first time that I can remember that we've had the same free pick. So this is my free pick. I think Jacksonville takes this one. They're a better team. They got more to play for. I mean, Tampa's in the playoffs, but they don't have any positioning that they can work for. Just have to control their division. So, yeah, I think Jacksonville is an easy bet here.
All right, Jeff. So if it's such an easy bet, what's the counter thesis here, man?
It's a good question. I don't know if they're thinking that, there's still an injury at QB that's playing into it for Jacksonville and maybe keeping them down, but I just see them as an overall stronger team.
Yeah, I do too. I mean the Jags do have 6 losses, but all of those losses are to good football teams. When they lost to Cincy was a good football team.
Yep.
All right, next up, well, not every game is a playoff game. Some games in Week 16s are meaningless, and unfortunately, that's what we have coming up next. So this game doesn't matter. The Bears host the Cards. They're favored by 4 with the over/under set at 43.5. I would lean toward the over here. Seems like the Bears went over almost all season. And despite Brown being out, I think the Cards will score some points on their defense. And I think I'm going to go with the Bears here, but I'm not laying a lot of money because it doesn't mean anything. Jeff, does betting the over on these meaningless games make sense?
It could make sense if there's something to play for. And the only thing I can think that somebody might be playing for is Kyler Murray and his next contract, because I don't think he'll be with Arizona after this year. So if I were thinking over, I would think of him. Chicago should win this game. Arizona is just not that good, but with Kyler being motivated, they're going to keep it close. I might go with the points. I might go Arizona.
Oh, with the points.
With the points. Okay. Chicago straight up, though.
Yeah. So what about Fields and his contract? It feels like he had a lot of drop passes this year too, no?
He did. He's had probably, I think there was 6 touchdown passes for like almost 200 yards of passing that were drops. So it's been pretty bad on his point. They just got a really bad team. But I do think there's a chance that they take a different quarterback and look to trade him. So I think he's still got that whole proving himself to other teams aspect.
Yeah. Could you see him in a Trey Lance and a 2nd-round pick to Dallas trade?
If I were Dallas, I would do that because I really like Fields. So yeah, I could certainly see that. There'd have to be some Trey Lance love coming from Chicago to do that.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm looking at it, and I mean, the Bears have 2 first-round picks, one of which is going to be Carolina, so they're going to get the number 1 pick. So I would imagine they're going Caleb Williams.
I would think so. Yep.
Do you get a backup, for him? and at the same time get a second or third round pick and get rid of the contract, Fields' contract, and give the team over to Caleb Williams, and then go get a tackle or another offensive player, because there's a lot of great offensive players, especially at the wide receiver position, coming out next year. So
Yeah, I think
I
you've
don't
got to
know.
restock talent around Caleb Williams if you want him to succeed. So I think they have to move Fields. It's just a question of who they want to bring in.
And what team would be willing to take him? I think he'd look great in Dallas. I wouldn't give up on him.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think he got a bad shake in Chicago, but who am I to say? All right, next up, Jeff, the Broncos host the Pats at home and are favored by 6.5. The over-under's at 34 and a hook. The Broncos remain in the playoff card hunt, but really need to win out, and they can do that as they face the Pats, the Chargers, and the Raiders. The Broncos got exposed last week on defense, giving up 5 passing touchdowns and a $185 on the ground to the Lions. The Pats lost to the Chiefs, but were competitive. I like the Broncos to win, but feel like this game is a field goal game. I also feel strongly on an over, as the Pats offense has been much more productive with Zappe. And I think 34.5 is just not that many points. Jeff, can Zappe get it done in Mile High?
Certainly could. I think it's a close game. It's one of my premium picks against the spread, taking the Patriots. Now, I think still probably likely Denver wins, but the stronger feeling is that New England keeps it close.
All right. I think we're in agreement. Next up, our Cowboys struggled last week. They're traveling to Miami to face off against the Dolphins. Both of these teams have feasted on bad teams at home and struggled against good teams. The Dolphins are favored by 1.5, and the over-unders at 49 and a hook. Offensively, these two teams are very similar, but the Dolphins have some more speed on the outside. Defensively, the Cowboys, if they can stop the run, they can really get after the quarterback. And that statistically, I think they're a better team on defense. This game is more important for the Dolphins, believe it or not, as the Dolphins need one more to wrap up the East, and they still have to face off against the Ravens on the road and finish up with the Bills at home. But I like Dallas here because I think the Dolphins play soft, Jeff. That's that's the way I see it. I think they're a soft team that have played well against bad teams. You can say that against the Cowboys, but I felt like they played well against the Eagles on the road, and they beat the Eagles at home. Tough one here, Jeff. Who do you like?
So this is all going to hinge on the offensive lines for the two teams. We know Miami is beat up. Of course, they've got their center out for the year. But Dallas, we're not sure about Zach, and we're not sure about Tyron because they've both been out this week. If they both play and Dallas has a full complement at offensive line and Miami doesn't, then I definitely lean Dallas. So that's where I'm going right now because I expect them to play.
All right, it's a tough game to pick. This is why I used to never pick Cowboy games, because I think any other time I may go with the Dolphins at home, but my loyalty remains with the Cowboys here. So I just want to caveat that pick for the viewers that we have out there. Hey, next up, the Chiefs host the Raiders, needing one more to wrap up the division. Both teams coming off a win and the Raiders extra rest, with the beatdown of 63-21 against the Chargers. That was such a sweet victory last week, Jeff. We picked both the win and the over on that one. The Chiefs played better against the pass, but still struggle at the wide receiver position. And I think the 10-point spread is too many here with Pierce as the head coach. I think the Chiefs win it. The over-under is 41 and a hook, and given how few times the Chiefs covered, the over makes me lean to the under. I like KC to win, but with one score. Jeff, does KC win the West?
KC does win this game. It's one of my more favorable bets because I think they'll win by 8. Now, against the spread, I agree. I think the Raiders have really rebounded after the coaching change, and Kansas City just can't put up a lot of points with that receiving core. So Kansas City wins, but the Raiders keep it close.
All right. The Eagles coming off a 3-game skid, looking terrible. Needing to win, host the Giants. Anytime you need a win this year, just host the Giants at home. That's a great one. They're favored by 13.5. The over-under is at 42 and a hook. There's something wrong in Philly, but the Giants don't need a win, and the Eagles need a win. I'm not confident it will be 2 scores here. I like Philly to win this one straight up. Jeff, can the Giants cover or possibly get an upset victory here, Jeff?
I don't expect an upset here if, they play again in a couple of weeks in New York, and that certainly is a potential upset. But playing in Philly with them needing to rebound, I think they win the game. There are problems there for sure. And I don't think they are clicking on all cylinders offensively. So I expect New York to keep it close enough to cover the spread.
Yeah, I saw some analysis on this, and last year they were able to run the football or get their football to the running backs on first down more efficiently. And this year they're really trying to push the ball downfield on that first down. And it's just they're not converting, and it's putting them in a bad spot. I do think that the Eagles, if they make that adjustment, can get back on track. I hope they don't, but I think they can. I still like them to be in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. And then just like last year, let's see injury-wise where everyone's at. I don't think San Francisco can get there if they have injuries to a couple players. But I think the Eagles can right the ship. But I think they get it done this week. All right, game of the year, and in my prediction for the future Super Bowl matchup, the Ravens travel to San Francisco, take on the 49ers. 49ers are favored by 4.5. The over-under is 47. Tail of the tape here is the 49ers offense is third in the league, scoring 30 a game. The Ravens are fourth in the league, scoring 27. The Ravens have the number 1 defense at 16.1, the 49ers at 16.7, although I think the 49ers defense is better with Chase Young, so I think that's been an adjustment. But the Baltimore defense is exceptionally well coached, and they do great. Baltimore owns this series at 5-2 and won the last one in 19. Looks like Stanley remains in concussion protocol. He's I think the left tackle. So watch that closely. This comes down. Obviously, Mitchell's out for the season. Unfortunately, that guy was a super fast back out of the backfield. They're going to miss him. But they've got a bunch of running backs, and they will throw one of those other guys in there. This comes down to home field advantage, so I'm going with the 49ers to win here. And I'm staying away from the spread. Feels like this one's a 1-score game, maybe a field goal. And I'd lean to the over here. Feels like a 34-31 game to me. Jeff, who wins the regular season Super Bowl?
Well, this is my Super Bowl pick as well. It was my championship of each conference. I was looking at San Francisco, Philly, and Baltimore, Kansas City. I still stick with that. I think it's Baltimore, San Francisco in the Super Bowl. This week, definitely going San Francisco. You got a lot of the injuries are mounting up in Baltimore, and they haven't had time to adjust from the latest running back injury, so probably throws it off a little bit. I might think differently for the Super Bowl, but San Fran covers the spread, wins a game and covers the spread.
Okay. All right. We're going to take the next section to our straight up picks. Last week, I thought we both picked pretty consistently. We were 12-4, so I'll start it off. I got Rams over the Saints, Jeff.
I'm going Rams as well.
I got Steelers over the Bengals.
I've got Cincinnati.
All right. I got Bills over the Chargers.
I've got Buffalo as well.
I got Falcons over the Colts.
Same here.
I got Seahawks over the Titans.
And I do as well.
I got Lions over the Vikings.
I like Detroit.
I got Jets over the Commanders.
Same here.
Packers over the Panthers.
Same as me.
Browns over the Texans.
I've got Cleveland as well.
I got the Jags over the Bucks, plus free pick for both of us.
Exactly. Yeah, Jacksonville should cover this easily.
I got Bears over the Cards.
Mine was close. Chicago to win straight up, though.
Cowboys over the Dolphins.
Same here.
Broncos over the Pats.
I've got Denver to win slightly, but my bigger pick is New England against the spread.
Yep. I got Chiefs over the Raiders.
Same here.
Eagles over the Giants.
Same here.
And the 49ers over the Ravens.
Got that as well.
So I got to pick up. I can pick up
Pick up one game, huh?
one game here.
Hmm.
And I was really close to going with the Bengals. So that's interesting.
Maybe this is a week to pick a lot of the straight ups and a parlay and a round robin.
Yep, I think so. All right, Jeff, that's all I got. We got 3 weeks left. This is where we made our money last year, Jeff. About this time of the season, I feel like it's happening again. I feel like we're going to be pretty consistent going all the way out. I think we got a good feel for where the games are. And some of these games I wouldn't bet. I just have to put money on them because we've got our competition going straight up, but I certainly wouldn't even put any money on some of these games. But I think some of the games that we are putting money on, I feel like we're going to win pretty easily.
Yep, I agree. I think the last 4 games of the regular season and playoffs are where we started to excel last season. And I feel pretty good this season. So I expect them to come in above our 60% average.
Yep. All right, rookies, have a good week. Good luck. We'll see you next week.